rivalry in the SEC dates back many, many, many years to the Southwest Conference. I'm, of course, talking about the Southwest Classic between Texas A&M and Arkansas. Texas A&M enters this one as a 6.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 53.5. And let me tell you this. A couple things stand out. Before I get into all the craziness, it is worth noting we did get an update on Texas A&M starter Connor Wigman on Wednesday morning. It was not good. He hurt his foot, and he is going to be out for the year. Just a bummer. Former 5-star. You never root against anybody with injuries. But the good news is Connor Wigman went out at halftime last week against Auburn, and Max Johnson is a more than capable replacement. Remember, this was a guy that transferred to Texas A&M from LSU, was the starter at LSU in Coach O's final year there. So this is a guy with big game experience, and he looked really, really, really good for A&M when he was forced in as a backup a week ago. Still, though, what I need to discuss is this. This series, I think it is amongst, if it's not the craziest rivalry that most college football fans don't realize is bananas, it is in the very short conversation, okay? So I looked it up because I was like, in my head, I'm like, every year this game seems to be crazy and down to the wire. Is that actually true? Well, I looked it up, and the answer is absolutely yes, okay? So I looked it up, and I know, I said looked it up 37 times. Forgive me. But went back and checked, okay? And of the last 10 times that these two teams have played, the last 10 times, 6 of them have been decided by a touchdown or less. 3 have gone to overtime. Somebody tweeted at me a stat. I don't even know if it's true, but it sounds true, that since A&M got to the SEC 11 years ago, there have been 5 times where they entered the fourth quarter trailing by a touchdown or more. And 4 out of 5 times they ended up winning the game outright. So it talks to how crazy this rivalry is. But then on the field, I will be absolutely fascinated, right? Because you have an A&M team that is coming off an SEC opening win over Auburn. And I'll tell you, if they win this game, they really have some momentum going into next week against Alabama. If they lose, it's devastating. And then Arkansas, they're 2-2. I don't think they're quite as bad as people think. And so when I look at this game, a couple things stand out. The first with A&M, I just talked about it with Florida and Kentucky. I kind of feel like, are we not giving like A&M? I feel like the hype is like a little too much coming out of the Auburn game. Okay. I don't think it's like hype, like, oh, it's Texas hype or USC hype or Colorado hype or whatever. But A&M was up 6-3 at the half against Auburn. Peyton Thorne missed 3, 4, 5 wide open wide receivers. And so I bring it up because they were only up 6-3. They easily could have trailed. And then Max Johnson comes in and he's pretty good. They build a lead and they run away with the game. But I just sit there and say, are they as good as everybody like thinks they are? Because it felt like, A&M, we've just criticized for multiple weeks at a time here, multiple years at a time. And all of a sudden they take care of an Auburn team that doesn't have a starting quarterback, that is very, let's be blunt, not very talented. I don't blame Hugh Freeze for that, but Brian Harsin basically stopped recruiting for 2 years. They didn't have a quarterback. And oh, by the way, it was like 120 degrees on the field in College Station last week. So A&M ran away with that game. That's what you're supposed to do in year 6 under Jimbo Fisher. Run away with that game, get that victory, dominate, and get ready for this game. So is A&M as good as everybody thinks? I don't know. And then with Arkansas, I keep going back to the same thing with Arkansas. If you listen to last week's show, and I did a standalone segment on YouTube, I don't think Arkansas is as bad as the 2-2 record would indicate. What I do think is they're ranked 126th nationally in penalties, and they need to clean it up. Remember, 2 weeks ago, we talked about this. Against BYU, they outgained BYU by over 100 yards. But it was 14 penalties at home that killed them and why they lost the game. Now, last week, they went up against a legitimately awesome LSU offense on the road, and they basically went play for play with them the entire game. Arkansas had the lead at the half. They were in control for large stretches. They did have but what happened? They had 11 penalties and ended up losing that game in the final minute. KJ Jefferson, by the way, nobody, for whatever reason, nobody talks about this kid. This kid's been awesome for like 4 straight years. 71% completion percentage. The run game right now is not what you would expect from a Sam Pittman coach team, in large part because of the fact that obviously Rocket Sanders is hurt. The O-line's not playing well. But what KJ Jefferson is doing this season is, again, very impressive, and he just doesn't seem to get enough credit for it. But on the year, he's completing 71% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, 918 yards, and was phenomenal against LSU. 21 of 31, just under 300 yards. Obviously, he did have 2 interceptions, but I just bring it up because he's playing good football. Arkansas is not that far away. And so when I see this spread is 6.5, I sit there and say, this feels like another Southwest Classic down to the wire nail biter. I think Arkansas is the better quarterback, respectful to Max Johnson. But listen, Max Johnson was good early, but again, he was going up against a weak Auburn defense at home. They wore down in the second half because they just don't have enough bodies. And I'm just not sold like that he is the guy that everybody is trying to make him out to be. Arkansas is the better quarterback. Arkansas has been moving the ball on everybody, and all they got to do is clean up the penalties a little bit. Now, can I pick Arkansas to win this game outright? I'm sorry, Hogs fans. I don't know that I can. The truth is, this is just a game that is always tight, always contentious. Unfortunately, it always seems to break the wrong way for Arkansas. So give me a close game. I'll say 31-30 A&M wins, but I do think Arkansas covering is the right side on this bet.